Hey, look at that. It's Cells 1.2 Cell Transport Vocab Lecture. It's me, Moser. You kind of know the deal already. By the time that we've either had this conversation or you've watched this video, you should have the ability to identify and recall basic terms and structures associated with cell transport. In other words, how cells move stuff in and out. Now, we're going to start with what might seem like kind of a weird tangent, but this sign, if you're driving down the road and you see this sign, slow, steep grade ahead, does that mean that you're headed for a long, flat stretch of road? You know better than that. You know that a steep grade means you're headed for a hill. A gradient is a slope or a hill. That's going to be really useful to know. The kind of gradients that we talk about in biology are concentration gradients. Now, remember, a gradient is a slope. A concentration gradient is the difference in concentration of solute or particles between two areas in a solution. So, for instance, this container that I've drawn does have a concentration gradient. How do we know? Because we look at it and we can see that there's an area of high concentration of particles. There are a lot of particles there. And there's an area of low concentration of particles. There aren't very many particles there. What about this one? Does that have a concentration gradient? No. They're pretty well evenly distributed. There's not one area we can point to and say, aha, there's our high concentration. Okay, let's move on to term, I think it's number 3, passive transport. So if something is passive, it's without energy, it's not active, it's inactive. Oh, she's so passive, she just sits there and lets life happen. And you know that to transport something is to move it. So passive transport is when a cell moves materials into or out of the cell membrane without using any cell energy. Pretty easy. Now you might be able to imagine a hill like this with a rock sitting at the top of it. If you're holding that rock in place and you let go of it, what's it going to do all by itself without any added effort from you? It's going to roll right straight downhill. So moving materials without using any energy means they can only move downhill. In cells, what this means is that we can only move materials from high concentration to low concentration if we're not willing to cash in any energy. So how do things move with passive transport? Again, from high concentration to low concentration. So that area of the solution that I've drawn there, where there are a bunch of particles, and they can move out to the areas of low concentration. It doesn't take any energy to make that happen. Okay, moving right along. What are these? Usually somebody looks at these and goes, oh, wait. Those are diffusers. I know what those are. My mom's got one. My Aunt Martha's got one. Somebody I know has one. That's right. These are essential oil. Diffusers. What do they do? There we go. Essential oil diffusers. And what do they do exactly? Well, diff means to scatter. So diffusion, which is one of your vocabulary terms, is when particles move from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration until they're completely evenly distributed. It doesn't take any added energy or any added input. It just happens naturally over time. It's very passive. Okay, so the super simplified definition, very user-friendly for diffusion. When particles move from an area where there are lots of them to an area where there are few of them. And this happens over time until they're more or less evenly spread out. Okay, osmosis. This is term 2. And osmo, and this was not an easy prefix to find, so I don't fault you if you didn't get it, but osmo means to push. And osmosis is a very special type of diffusion. It is, number 1, the diffusion of water only, and it is across a partially or partly permeable membrane. Permeable just means that something can travel through it. Obviously, if water's moving through it, water can. Okay, so let's do a little bit of thinking here. If osmosis is the diffusion of water, and diffusion is particles moving from high concentration to low concentration, does osmosis require any energy? What do you think? I say heck no. Is it a type of active or passive transport? If it doesn't require any energy, that would be passive transport. Speaking of active transport, term number 4, let's talk about that. So active, if you're active, you are expending physical effort. You're burning energy. Woohoo! You're running around. Active involves physical effort. And of course, to transport is still to move things. Active transport is when cells move materials into or out of the cell membrane using cell energy. This is hard work, folks. So if you're going to use materials, if you're going to move materials and you're going to use energy to do it, that means suddenly you have the ability to push things uphill. And in a cell, this means moving things from an area of low concentration to an area of high concentration. That's a little bit different. So again, if you're using active transport, you can actually take materials from an area of low concentration to that area of high concentration. But it's going to cost you energy. Hey, have you ever seen one of these? It's a pump. It's an old-fashioned hand pump. Now, if you've used one of these, you know that this takes quite a bit of energy. You get a sore shoulder after a while. If you're willing to use energy, you can pump things. So you may or may not remember from physical science that an ion is a charged atom. It's an atom that's gained or lost electrons. And we know a pump is a machine that moves something. You can probably put that together and figure out that an ion pump, well, you might not get the whole thing, but it's a tiny little pump, and it's actually embedded in that cell membrane. It uses energy to pump charged particles, or ions, in or out of the cell. And since we're using energy, that's right, it's a form of active transport, which means we can actually pump things which direction on the concentration gradient? Uphill. So think about this little fountain. The water trickles down from the top bowl with no help from anybody. It's just gravity. How does it get back up to the top? There's a pump, and that's why you have to plug it in. The pump uses energy to pump liquids to the top of the hill so that they can fall back down. And again, because these ion pumps use energy, and there are some little ions, sodium or potassium or chloride ions that they might use, they can actually move things from an area of low concentration in to an area of high concentration. So they can move something from where there are very few of them out to where there are already a lot of them. So an ion pump, this is your user-friendly definition, a pump made of protein in the cell membrane that uses energy, and of course cells use ATP for energy, to move ions, those would be charged particles, up a concentration gradient. So from an area of low concentration to an area of high concentration. Okay, so semi-permeable. You know that semi means partly, and perm means something that can pass through. So a semi-permeable thing will let some things go through, but it will stop other things. This colander that's shown straining pasta is a great example of a semi-permeable membrane. The strainer lets the water go through, but it holds on to the pasta. So if you remember the structure of that cell membrane, it's kind of weird. Water can travel right straight through it. It's one of the substances that can do this. So in other words, the cell membrane is permeable to water. Water can pass through it. Okay, so did you notice that 3 of your vocabulary terms end in tonic? So this might be important to talk about. When we see anything tonic, that means we're comparing 2 things that are separated by a barrier or a membrane. So we're going to start with hyper hypertonic. You know that hyper means high. If you're hyperactive, you're more active than usual. If something, and when we say something, we're usually talking about a solution or the contents of a cell. When something is hypertonic, it's got a higher concentration of stuff, particles, sugar, salt, ions, whatever, than what we're comparing it to. Remember that the hypertonic means higher concentration of the dissolved bits. So if we look at this little beaker with a baggie in it, you'll have to trust me. If you count up the W's and the little X's, we have 12 W's, that means water, and we have 6 X's. Inside the baggie, we have 2 waters for every 4 X's. So outside the baggie, in the beaker, there are 2 times as many water particles as solute particles. Inside the baggie, that relationship is turned on its head. Oh boy. So one of these things is hypertonic. Well, where's the higher concentration of stuff? That'd be inside the bag. The bag is hypertonic. And, anytime that we have something like this, the solution in this beaker shown here is hypertonic to the bag. It's got more stuff. In this case, the X's are salt. While on this side, the bag here is hypertonic to the solution that it's in. So we can look at either the solution or the baggie and describe which one is hypertonic. So here we have yet another beaker with a baggie, and we could ask which solution has a higher concentration of solute particles, the little X's. Well, in the beaker, there are 12 waters for every 6 solutes, every 6 X's. In the baggie, there are 2 waters for every 4 X's. If we simplify that, the beaker's got twice as many particles of water as salt, and the baggie has half as many. So the baggie is hypertonic to the beaker. The beaker is not hypertonic to the baggie. So let's talk about the next one that ends with tonic, hypo. So hypo means low. If you're hypoactive, you got no energy. You're just laying around like a slug. So something, usually, again, a solution or the contents of a cell, is hypotonic when it has a lower concentration of stuff than whatever it is that we're comparing it to. Here, we've got a beaker and a baggie again that we're going to look at in more detail in just a second. So, same drawings as before, but now we're looking at the fact that the solution in this one is hypotonic to the bag, and the bag over here is hypotonic to the solution. Now, the one that doesn't seem quite like the others is isotonic. So, iso just means equal, and something is isotonic when it has an equal concentration of stuff, sugar, salt, whatever, as what we're comparing it to. So, this beaker and this baggie have equal proportions of salt and water. Cool. The solution and the baggie are isotonic to one another. I won't put it in here, but just remind me to discuss the exploding fish with you and the toothpaste pea of ocean fish jerky. That's it. If you've got questions, check in with me. If not, rock on.